Hey you guys, it's Britt. Today we're here to react to a recent Instagram story that Brianna K decided to go on a little rant, and I had some opinions about it. So if you're interested, please keep watching. All right, you guys, so if you're clicking on this video, you probably know who Bits of Brie or Brianna K is. I've done several videos on her on my channel. If you guys are interested, you can check those out. But she is someone who, in my opinion, she's definitely not one of the worst family vlog channels on YouTube, not by a long shot, but she's done some really questionable things. I don't think that she recognizes even a fraction of the privilege that she has. And anytime I talk about these mommy vloggers, I always think of who their audience is. When you make this type of content, your audience is other moms, other parents, other guardians, other caregivers. And so when you speak to them, you are sending out a message, and hopefully that message is usually, I am with you guys. I understand. I recognize that I am in a position that only a very small fraction of other moms are in. But instead, a lot of times what she does is she just rants and raves on and on and on about things that are a problem for her, but she never looks at how good she has it. And I think that's why a lot of times it comes off as distasteful and annoying to a lot of her followers. So she decided to jump on her Instagram and go on a little rant. So that's what we're going to listen to today. And I also want to say, I know that she has had her issues, and I've stood up for her in the past, but that also doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to give her criticism. I want to be able to do both. There are things that have been said and done to her that I 2000% disagree with. But on the flip side, I also am a commentary channel, and I'm not going to shy away from talking about her just because some of these more recent events have happened. Like, I'm not here to be cruel or, anything like that. But I really want to talk about this. So it's about a 5-minute clip, but let's get started.
Hello, happy hump day. Making myself some immunity and stress tea because after yesterday, just what's going on, I don't know if anybody just feels like you were lied to about adulthood as a child, because I think that's the point where I'm at. I don't know, I'll get super triggered sometimes when I see people's comments that just discredit anything that's like hard or difficult for.
It sounds like maybe she was very sheltered as a child, because she says that she feels like she was lied to about what being an adult is. And I think that if you tell your kids that, you're going to grow up and you're going to have a white picket fence and you're going to be married and you're going to have such a beautiful life and everything is going to be perfect, that might create an adult that feels like they were lied to. If you have those tough conversations with your kids and you show more of the real side of what being an adult is, I think that there is a way to walk the line. But again, I'm not here to tell anyone how to parent their kids. But based on that statement, she was probably someone that was very sheltered and had this image of the white picket fence and the, 3 dogs and 3 kids and everything is sunshine and rainbows.
Our generation, I guess I'm speaking to like 80s and 90s babies, so I guess when I see comments from like my mom's, my grandma's generation that are like, if I had HelloFresh, it would be so much easier, and like, I love my HelloFresh, yes, it makes meal planning so much easier, but like, I'm sorry. We're about to enter World War III by the sounds of it. Maybe that's why I was feeling so much stress yesterday. Like, I just caught up on some news and some.
Okay, so I really don't like that she's doing this. She is fear-mongering her audience. There are enough things that we all have to worry about, and I don't know about you guys, but when I follow an influencer or someone on YouTube, it's not so that they can fear-monger me and tell me that literally World War III is about to start and everything is going to come crashing down around us while they're sitting in their luxury home in Hawaii. I understand that it can be very scary, but to come out with this as if it's going to happen and you have the 411 and you know what the hell you're talking about, you don't. but it can be very scary. And so many of us, I keep going back to this, so many of us are going through different stages of how the panini has affected each of us. I've said in a lot of recent videos, for some people, they have lost their jobs, they've lost their homes, they're not able to feed their children, they're not able to pay their bills on time. I know for other people, they might have had a family member or a parent or a loved one or a friend, get COVID and pass away, or they got COVID and they're still dealing with the long-term health effects that it has on your body. So it's affected each and every one of us in a different way, but I can tell you that most people that are watching her channel would do anything to be able to complain about the panini from their home in Hawaii. And this is where she just has very little self-awareness to say these kinds of things and say them as if they are so true. And you are making yourself this cup of tea, about to go on this rant from your $1 million home in Hawaii. I don't remember the exact price of it, but I'm pretty sure it was close to $1 million for the home she has in Hawaii. So you can't, that's the crossroads that a lot of people come to, is wanting to show people, look how great I'm doing, but then I also want to be relatable and rant and complain about things, but I'm also going to show you guys how great my life is. So it becomes very confusing and frustrating for the subscribers who are dealing with their own issues. They subscribe or follow Brianna because they want to unplug from all the things that we're seeing on the TV, all the things that are on the Instagram timeline. So for her to come out and just say that we're entering World War III is extremely, it's fear-mongering at its finest, and it's a letdown to her followers who come to her to be able to unplug from all the craziness that's going on outside of our front doors.
Things that I saw in here this morning. So great, we survived a pandemic, or we're still in the midst of one, I guess, and our rewards rolled. I just saw a nail fly by the window outside. But okay, I think it cut me off. Like, if you think about the time 80s and 90s babies graduated, the economy crashed. So all of this promise of like, you're going to go to school and you're going to go to college and you can work your dream job. Like, a lot of us didn't even get to work our dream jobs because we couldn't get a job because there weren't any jobs, which there for them impeded us.
But she did have a job. She was a teacher for a long time. And then she just so happened to exploit her kids and be able to become a full-time YouTube mom. So I understand that a lot of people have had issues finding jobs for years now, but let's not act like you were one of them. She was in a position where she did have a full-time job, and then she decided to put her kids all over YouTube and hit it big and decided to keep that train rolling. Brianna is one of those, in my opinion. She realized how lucrative having kids on YouTube is. And I'm not saying that that was the only intention, because obviously, people want to grow their families. But when you so deliberately monetize having children, it's very questionable to me. I don't know. I just don't look at that as a good, solid way of making a living. So I don't know what kind of imperfect picture she has in mind, but keep in mind, she is literally sitting in her luxury home in Hawaii, able to work at home full-time. She doesn't have to go out. She doesn't have to expose herself. And she hasn't had to expose herself this entire panini. The entire time she's been able to sit at home, not worry about getting sick, not having to worry, unless she goes to Target when she doesn't need to, which she has. But I have too, so I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do or wrong thing or whatever. But to complain about these things and be in her position, it's It's just a reminder of how influencers cannot and will not relate directly to the subscribers that are making them rich.
Being able to make money, live on our own. Like, I can't tell you how many people I feel like I was friends with who are living at home with their parents, and like we're so depressed and feeling so self-conscious about that. And then that like sets you back even further for when you finally do get married and have kids, being able to then afford a home. And I feel
all of those things which you've been able to do, and you've been able to do them even more once you started exploiting your kids for YouTube. Her kids being born online made her very lucrative and put her in a position where she could clean and, you know, show birth vlogs and stuff like that.
like by the time we finally worked ourselves to that point of like, okay, married now, have a home, having kids, the pandemic sets. So then all of the things that we thought we were going to be able to do with our kids in their childhood are gone. Like my kids have never had normal. Yeah, our kids have never had normal school ever. Landon had.
Your kids have never had normal school, but you're able to sit with them at home. Let's think about what one of her subscribers could have gone through during this. Let's consider a single parent who, when the panini hit, schools closed. This person may or may not have been able to work from home. They had to figure out childcare. Daycares were closed. Where are your kids going to go? They have limited or no family that can help them with watching their child. So they had to shuffle around their schedule if they were still working, working outside of the house. And let's also consider if that person were to lose their job. What are they going to do? I'm not sure if the goal of this little rant that she went on was to seem relatable or for people to send her like a pity card. I'm not sure what the goal was, but it comes off as so poor me, poor us, poor this generation. Like I'm in the same generation that she's in. But for someone who claims to be such an optimist, she is complaining an awful lot about things that have nothing to do with her. You're literally complaining about your child not being in a real school. What about all of the other things that being an influencer has provided you with?
Year of normal preschool, that's it. And I don't think like parents are okay right now is the point I'm getting at, because it still isn't back to normal like anywhere.
If parents aren't okay, it's probably because they are dealing with the financial hardships that the panini has brought. They are dealing with the stress of trying to figure out childcare and job security. They are dealing with normal everyday life stress. And I understand that being a stay-at-home parent is hard as well. But if you had any scenario to pick from, I am pretty sure that 99% of people would pick being a full-time influencer where they can make money from their home. They don't have to expose themselves to possibly getting sick, and they can make a ton of money doing so.
And it just feels like all of our expectations, I think, of what even then we would be able to do as parents and for our children's childhood is gone. And I know that other generations, I feel like I'm going to get like slapped here today of like, we went through this. I don't want to minimize anything you've gone through, but I also think like it's not really comparable, like anything that you've gone through, like, and I feel like that's minimizing it, and I don't need to minimize it. I really don't. But there's just nothing else that you can compare, I think, what this generation of like 80s and 90s kids have sort of gone through. Not to mention that then like our middle age is getting like blasted all over social media. I know it's a choice, but like, yeah, I think there's just horrible expectations on how we should age in general that then get exacerbated on social media, and there's so much pressure
but this is coming from the same person who puts filters on sponsored ads. And when you're advertising for a skincare product or for a makeup product, my whole thing has always been, if you use filters in your everyday life, then that's one thing. But if you're going to come onto your platform with a filtered image and say that it was because of this skincare product, that's where it's deceptive and gross, because you're giving people a false, you're giving people a false hope for what a product should look like. And at the end of the day, not everybody knows, oh, that's a filter, that's photoshopped. They don't always recognize what these Instagram filters look like and how to identify, oh, up at the top left, it actually says that it's a filter. And then don't get me started, if it's Photoshop, then you're really not going to know. So that's rich coming from someone who has done sponsored ads with filtered images.
Like look a certain way. Yeah, it just, I'm so jealous, I guess, of people in the 70s and 80s that you just could live your life, didn't have to worry about posting anything on the internet.
But the internet has also made you very, very wealthy. So I would be very careful before I would say, oh, well, 70s and 80s were so much better because there wasn't social media. She would be nothing without social media. She would have no job without social media. So before I slam social media, I would also recognize that social media gave me the platform that I'm standing on right now. And the reason that I have been able to stay home with my kids during a global panini.
And yeah, I'm jealous. I'm jealous right now.
So it says, I know we have tons to be grateful for, but we have to recognize there has been a lot of trauma and pressure on this generation who are responsible for raising kids. We are really not okay. It just feels like we're surviving, not really living, and that's not good for our babies. Well, I would also say that something that's not good for your babies is exploiting them and putting them all over YouTube way before they're even old enough to consent. And that not only goes for Brianna K, but all family vloggers. All family vloggers who put a camera in their in the face of their child from the second the child is out of the womb. So I understand the toxicity that social media can bring. Trust me, I know. But at the same time, if you know that it's so bad, then why are you okay with putting your children out there? Because it makes you money? Well, I don't really know that that's a fair exchange to have. If you care so much for their mental health and their well-being, then why are you okay with blasting them all over this platform that you seem to have such a problem with, even though it's made you rich? I just realized that there's a lot of toxicity and things that can come along with having a YouTube channel and Instagram and TikTok. And for the adults in this situation, I do feel, because nobody should be bullied or harassed or called names or anything like that. But every single time an influencer wants to talk about how toxic social media is, it makes me second guess if they're really protecting their kids, knowing their kids are now all over social media. They know how toxic it is, but they're still going to put their kids out there because they know that's what makes money. I will not deny the fact that having children on YouTube pays. If you are an influencer and you put out a vlog saying that you're pregnant and then you vlog the whole pregnancy and the birth and then the kids and stuff, those videos do really well. Like I've said before, people online like to see babies. They like to see birth vlogs and things like that.
If you're wondering about the clips, it's to try to have my baby hairs dry flat, so I'm trying to let my hair air dry. It's also why I didn't put on my actual shirt yet, because I don't like it to get wet and my hair is still pretty damp. But Hayden just woke up from his nap. Hi, handsome. You're so sweet. Here, I'm gonna set this down and turn off your white noise. But the reason that triggered this whole how I'm feeling today anyways is Landon, I found out last minute, they were having a field day at his school today, and it just had me thinking oh my gosh, I haven't gotten to be at or volunteer for any parties or celebrations or field days or anything like that, and so I could go watch him from the fence.
I mean, the things that she's complaining about are so silly. Like I said, there are so many of her own followers who would do anything to be in the position that she's in. There are people that are working multiple jobs, trying to feed their family, trying to figure out daycare, who's going to watch the kids next Wednesday, both of us are going to be gone, or I'm a single parent and I have no one to watch my kids, so I'm going to have to use sick time if I even have any. It does come off as being privileged, in my opinion. And am I saying that she's not allowed to complain about anything? Absolutely not. She can do whatever she wants. If it's something that is lacking so much self-awareness and so much entitlement as this is, then people are also allowed to have opinions about it. And I just think that it comes off as very disingenuous how she wants to make these complaints and complain about social media negatively affecting people, but at the same time, there are other generations that went through hardships too. And you're saying you don't want to discount it, but you definitely are when you make such direct statements.
Because they were like outside, so that's what I did. I like parked my car, and I saw some other moms were there too, like filming the field day stuff. Yeah. And then we went to the grocery. Yeah, at the grocery store. Just again, it's scary when you see just the price of everything. It's really, really scary.
Yeah, prices are going up. Inflation is no joke. You're feeding your child. So even though I understand that it can be upsetting, to complain about grocery prices to your followers while you're feeding your child, it tells me that she doesn't have a lot of self-awareness. And I get it, like she was just doing these stories like throughout her day, she has to take care of her kids or whatever, but not once in this video did she say, I know that you guys and my followers are having a hard time as well. I hear you, I see you, I feel you, and I want you to know that I understand the hardships that you guys are going through as well. Here are some of mine. Probably wouldn't have complained about social media since it's made her a lot of money. But these influencers lose that line of communication that makes them connect with their audience, because it's never, I understand, I totally get it, you know, let's talk about it. It's never a two-way conversation. It's just constantly, let me trauma dump and fear-monger and, you know, spit out all of this crap onto you guys. You listen to it because you're my subscribers, and then we'll move on to the next thing. I mean, she harvests comments on her YouTube videos that she rarely ever replies to. She will ask for direct comments on direct questions and ignore them. So this is not someone who genuinely wants to connect with her audience, in my opinion.
Scary. So yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts on my brain. And just so many of you messaged yesterday said like you're feeling very similarly, or like you're having anxiety attacks when you go to the store. And again, I don't mean to minimize what any other generation has gone through, and I'm not trying to say like,
I wonder if she actually replied to that person or if she just saw the message and then mentioned it in this video. That's the thing, like when you have a platform, and I know that as the number grows, it's harder to keep up, but you have to stay connected with your audience. You really, it is just so important, and maybe that's just a me thing, which is fine. But I just think that it's so important to listen to the people who put you in the position where you're at, where you're able to afford to feed your children. You're able to sit at home and not be exposed to, you know, the panini that's going on. These people have put you in a very privileged position, and it seems like so many YouTubers lose that connection. And I don't think a lot of them really give two shits either.
oh, our generation is like the toughest. What I'm trying to say is like right now, like our generation who's responsible for these babies, like we're not okay. And that like makes me really scared.
You are responsible for these babies, and keeping their mental health should be front and center. So you know how bad social media is, Brianna K, and you're putting your kids on the same platform. You know the bad shit that people can say. And people will say about old people, they'll say it about kids, they don't care. If people want to say mean shit They will say it online. They don't care. They're keyboard warriors. All of us know that they exist. But the problem is that you know so directly that this is happening, and you still choose to put your kids all over social media because it makes you money. And anyone who takes money over the repercussions that could happen down the road because of the mental health of these kids, I'm not here to support that. And I said the same thing about Maya Knight. Even though I cannot and will not ever co-sign anything that Josh at Dad Challenge podcast said about her, that was the one thing. I will always stay on the side of these kids are too young to consent. They don't have any idea what social media is. Let's at least wait until kids are teenagers where they can somewhat understand what social media is. 15, 16, they have a little bit more understanding by that point, but to do what so many of them are exhibiting makes me pissed off, honestly.
For our future. So that was, I guess, my rant and my thoughts today.
So that was her video. You know, I don't know. I'm anxious to see what you guys have to say about this. It does just consistently kind of feel like her complaints come from a place of privilege where she wants to, you know, you want to be relatable, but at the same time, when your lifestyle does not equate to what 98% of your audience is experiencing, it just comes off as disingenuous to me. So either way, I did want to share that with you guys. So please tell me what you think, and we'll see. You know, Brianna is not someone that I cover on a really consistent basis, but when things like this happen, I will absolutely talk about it. So for now, if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.